Where have you been? Welcome back to Reality Imbalance. Come on in, like the stream, sub up the channel, get to know more about me on realityimbalance.com. And as a matter of fact, I have 3 volumes of Words of Power Affirmation on Amazon. Type in Shawnee Janelle Words of Power Affirmations, okay? And or you can send me an email. Everything will be in the description pretty soon, okay? There we go. About how to get a digital copy of Words of Power Affirmations, right? 1 second. Woohoo! Trying to get some better lighting for you guys, everybody. Come on in, like the channel, sub up. So today's topic is quite impromptu. My initial stance was to take some notes on it, right? I didn't get to it. So we are just going off the divine timing. All right. So the title and what we're going to talk about, okay, with some engagement, is healing childhood trauma, okay, doing the shadow work and ancestors, which I'm relating the shadow work and the ancestors together in healing childhood trauma. First of all, what I see and what I can recall on all major social media outlets, right, they're like projects, all social media outlets, is that this topic is not a thing. Okay. This topic is not popular. Okay. They don't want it to be popular for many different reasons. Okay. I understand, we get the fact that this particular topic needs to be handled in sacred spaces, right? But their sacred spaces are among psychiatrists and psychologists in group work, which is good. There is no judgment there. Okay. But there becomes a time and there comes a place where 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 6 boys will be essayed before they're 18. And like I continue to reiterate, over and over again, that we all know many girls, we all know many boys. So this is like an epidemic to me. And this is what I see. This is like a crisis. Okay. A hiding type of crisis, and certain words and hashtags will be flagged on social media. This is why these topics don't get highlighted as much, although multitudes and generations of people are afflicted by CSA. Multitudes and generations of people are afflicted by CSA. So the power of social media is to hide it, to be secretive. Okay. They want it to remain sacred, right? They want you to get into the group work in silence. Okay. They want you to talk to a psychiatrist in silence. Okay. And some of them do have the skills and the tools to help you get to one avenue on another, but there's more than one way to gain knowledge. There's more than one way to grow and to heal and to release and to relinquish, right? More than one way. Several ways, multiple ways. They are right with the first one, is to speak about it. Okay. A lot of times, like this nature, right? We have to be careful on what type of words we're saying. This type of nature, what's going on with people is heavy emotionally. So the reason why psychiatrists and psychologists are there is to help you to release it by talking, by expressing yourself, okay, about these instances, okay? Because in society, and with, the reigns that we are underneath of the sun, right? This very much masculine sun, this very much egotistical way of living life, right, has certain levels on how to be underneath the sun in this very much arrogant, egotistical way. And what do I mean about that? About this society being reigned by the sun? If you know, you know. You can't show your vulnerability. You cannot show when you're hurt. You definitely cannot show when, where, and how you were. Can't say the word, but you know what I'm saying. When you were SA'd as a child, especially as a boy, right? That's why so many women come out first and express this, unlike boys, because we're underneath this society, underneath reigned by the sun of egotistic, arrogant, that they're not supposed to have feelings, that they're not supposed to feel, that they're not supposed to talk about their affliction. They're supposed to power and work through it through aggression, the power of the sun that gives you energy, work and power through it through arrogance and aggression. So I find it really interesting how all of this has just come together, right? How it's all packaged, how to keep people in their boxes, keep people on their pee pads so they don't go off of their four corners. All right. So we got the psychiatrists, we got the psychologists. Believe me, they are all necessary and they are all needed, right? All people are needed in their way because everyone is different as an individual. There's more than 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,000 ways, I'm telling you, on how to release and how to relinquish CSA in any forms of trauma, right, that you had went through when you were a child. There's more than one way than sitting in a group, which is great. I've been there, done that. Talking to a psychiatrist, psychologist. Lots of my family members done that and it works for them. Okay. Some of it doesn't. There's more than one way. So let's just go back, y'all, saying why underneath this society that's underneath the sun is because they want people to stay quiet. They don't want you to heal. They don't want you to grow. They don't want you to release. This is why there are so many different addictions. There are so many different epidemics of diseases. It's to stifle you. It's to keep you quiet. Go over there and smoke that cigarette, smoke that weed, drink that alcohol. That's why there's so many liquor stores everywhere, so many Starbucks everywhere. Believe me, I got my Starbucks, but I'm not addicted to caffeine, right? There's so many different ways for us to stifle, to be enclosed within ourselves because of the reign of the sun of society that we live in. Okay, we're not a society underneath the moon who's about healing, reflection, okay, somewhat of a community. We're underneath the reigns of the sun. So social media really do not like these topics, all right, because of the system. Many boys are afflicted, okay? They just aren't able to talk about these issues because of the reign of the sun. It's embedded in them, in their DNA from generations and generations, ever since we've been ruled by the sun, all right? They have learned to be quite avoidant. So when the topic of Me Too came about years ago, it's a bunch of women, right? Lots of women. I hardly seen not one man, I only know one guy on social media who talked about his transgressor. One. And what did he get? Man, they still are attempting to lower him to this day by words of him being so-called LGBTQ, just because he spoke out about his affliction. So boys really have it. Men really have it quite difficult when it comes to this topic, because you see underneath of the sun, right? You're supposed to be aggressive. You're supposed to be avoiding. You're not supposed to talk about these things. When you do talk about it as a boy or a man, that makes you weak in some kind of way, according to the reign of the sun, because that's not what the sun is about. If you know, you know. Same thing, you know, with those who are in the LGBTQ community, right? Most people that I see and hear and I talk to think that they are weak group of people. And that is a lie. They're not weak at all whatsoever. It's the same thing with men talking about what happened to them in their childhood. Society, even the spirits in the background, they disallow for men and boys to talk about these formalities that is going on, like a crisis, right? It's like that for a reason, like I said, because it brings back for the continue of generation of trauma, the generation of abuse, the inability of you releasing. Because if you heal yourself, you're healing your family, you heal your environment. Okay. Boys really have it hard. I must say, from experience, if it wasn't for some women speaking out against CSA, men will never admit to it. They will not, because society shames them ultimately by design. They're weak. They're less than. Oh, you LGBTQ now. Like, those are all lies. As a matter of fact, it's the complete opposite. Okay. Women, right, are shamed as well, but this is so much of a crisis, CSA, that is a crisis. Just like it's a different story and a different topic. Just like there's a crisis of homelessness, there's a crisis of MMIW, there's a crisis here, there's a crisis there. There is a crisis with CSA, and you have to know this. Okay, especially before you turn 18. That's insane. Insane. And the numbers have not changed over years, over time. It has been the same consecutively. 1 in 3 girls, 1 in 6 boys, by design. They don't want us to come together as a group to heal, to grow, not to have a sad sob story, crying. Okay, yeah, you might have that instance, but not for long, right? Because it's empowering. You heal yourself, you heal your environment, you heal your family, you heal your ancestors. These things that occur, that happen in the dark, right? They want to keep it in the dark. Society, by design, even some spirits, because some spirits live off of that energy. This is how they thrive, off of this energy of CSA. They don't know any better. That was created. It was a thing that was created, and it was a thing that was accepted. Therefore, there were shadows that were created at the same time. So they're living off of that energy, of course. So when it comes to things being done in the dark, it will be shown in the light, right? What else did they want to say? I feel like there was something more to say about women and girls. I don't know. They're like, just say, because when women or girls are CSA, a lot of times they act out. I don't know, not one girl who is not acting out or haven't act out in some kind of way, in some kind of form, right? It really is established in their body and their emotions in a different way. For boys, it'd be kind of hard to tell, you know what I'm saying? Because they have like this armor on them for a while. You know, they can only keep up the mask for some time. But with girls, they generally act out. Either they're acting out in school, either they're sexual or they're not sexual, because a lot of times you're not hypersexual when you're CSA, right? They just have it a little bit more difficult, and it's a lot more challenging when it comes to women and girls being CSA. Anyway, I just want to get to the purpose and the point of speaking out about it. I met so many different people and women who are so afraid to talk about it, and they allowed for these transgressors to have their own families, right? To have their own families. And that is quite disgusting, because they have a fear of speaking out, of being vulnerable. And you watch for years, for generations, that the person who essayed you, they go off and have their own families. 100% of the time, these individuals, the transgressors, are doing the same thing to their family. This is how the ball continues to roll. All right. And it irks me so much. It does. It's like, this is where I have to really put my foot down. You're afraid of saying something about yourself, but what about the kids that these people are having? So let's get into the shadow side of things, okay? Because not only are the spirits that are in the background watching and feeding off of this kind of energy, you have what I always have been saying over the years: your cheerleaders and your ancestors are there ready to ignite, ready to step in. They're not going to step in if you're not aware. They're not going to step in if you aren't focused enough, right, to put your foot down. If you're not focused enough to stand up for yourself. They're not going to intervene because you're unaware of what's happening or what's going on or the path or the journey that you're on, unless you tell them to intervene. And since we are still ruled by the power of the sun, people are like, we'll go to the temple. Well, you are the temple. Your body is the temple. But the sun, what do they have it now? In a church, embodied in a temple, once a week, twice a week now, for you to go and admit to your transgressors. 100% of the time, those preachers and those pastors and those people up in that establishment are transgressors as well. They are. That's why nothing is really getting done. Okay, because they have their own shadows that are feeding off of their energy also, y'all. Anyway, so your ancestors, your cheerleaders, which I mean your spiritual guides, when I say your cheerleaders, will not intervene unless you tell them to. Absolutely. Absolutely. How many people are going to their ancestors about this, or have? There has been many, I know. Okay. But it's not anything you're going to see on TV. It's nothing you're going to hear on a radio. Okay. It's not like a thing that is talked about, that is uplifted in this epidemic of CSA. From experience and also by design. Okay. That same system, but on a different scale, or on the polar opposite of that system, right? Your ancestors, your cheerleaders will step in for you, right? They'll put in the word for you. They'll put on the armor for you. They will walk in front for you. All you have to do, not request, is to demand it. So you're afraid to tell somebody. So you're afraid to talk about it. So you're afraid to call the police. Maybe it's a police officer. Maybe it's a judge or somebody like that. Guess what? Guess who is there next to you all the time, behind the veil, in the darkest night of the night? Are your cheerleaders and your ancestors. They will walk before you. Okay? Absolutely. 1,000,000%. Let them do the work. Some things you really cannot say. Okay. This is why we're speaking very plainly and simple. Let them do the work. Go to them. But you're going to need your conviction. All right. You're going to need your conviction. You're going to need to put your foot down. You're going to need to be fed up. Way beyond here. Way beyond here. Okay? In order for this work to get done. Okay? Maybe you might be emotional, but nah, put your foot down. Say, I need you to walk beside me, next to me, near me to handle this work. Watch them work for you. Watch them work for you. Okay. What else can we say more about the shadow? Because these things are going on. Like I said, you got the spirits who feed off of the CSA energy, and but you got the spirits that are around who are already ordained, who have already overcame this plane. Your ancestors and your cheerleaders, they are here to guide you, right? All you have to do is speak the word into existence. This is why your tongue, your thoughts, the things that you say is magic, because you are a magician. I know things are watered down so much today, right? There's so much gossip. Okay. There's so much misinformation on individuality. So people are not even thinking that their words and that their thoughts are magic. This is why you got sleuth of distractions out here, because you forgot that your words are magic. You forgot that your thoughts are magic. The things that you say, the things that you speak, especially the things that you write down, are magicianhood status 101. Right? We're in today where there's gossip everywhere. Everybody has an opinion. You're watching a game. Everybody's doing a voiceover. Somebody's doing narration, okay? People are always talking, blah, 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 blah. And they have forgotten how ordained, they're like your lyrics are. They have forgotten how powerful your thoughts are, how powerful and creative your words are if you're using them precisely. Okay. So the shadow side of healing from trauma and CSA is bringing it to your ancestors, bringing it to your spiritual guides, right? And it works with your conviction. It works with you being fed the fuck up. Okay? Not feeding yourself with fast foods or killing yourself in your lungs, smoking, killing in your liver. You know what I'm saying? Drinking, generations of drinking, stifling yourself, stifling your energy. Fuck all that. You are powerful. Everything that is out there, you already have it within. You don't need alcohol to speak the truth unless you're having fun with your family and all, you know, your friends, you know what I'm saying? Not to say not to drink alcohol and do whatever. I'm not here to judge you. But I'm saying if you're using it as a tool to continue to stifle your divine energy, I'm here to tell you that you don't need it. You don't need it. Healing CSA is a crisis. You have to know this. I know every one of these people up on here on YouTube land, no more than 3 girls, no more than 6 boys. They continue to mess with the stats and say 1 in 4, 1 in 5, or 1 in 6 boys. But either way, it's a crisis. It's a crisis by design. All right. The systems don't want you to heal. They want you to continue to be oppressed so they can continue to commodify you, so they can continue to make money off of your fear, money off of your pain, from generation to generation to generation. We need more protectors, right? You have protectors in the spirit realm, okay? But we also need protectors right here, right there, like people who are open and paying attention to their children and their behaviors. There was something else that they were talking about. Something else. Yeah, there's not a lot of protectors because they want to keep you busy. They want to keep you busy with work. They want to keep you busy with being online all the time, and you're not even paying attention to your kids. I was seeing on social media the other day, and this happens all the time. I was even thinking about this years ago, that how do people be streaming for hours and they have children? Little kids, little toddlers, they be streaming for hours. And I'm like, they don't even take a break to use the bathroom, to drink water, or any of that. One girl has streamed for 30 hours, excuse me, for I don't know how long. She had a toddler in another room that they never fed, that they never gave water to, no nutrition. It was malnourished and end up dying. Like, because the power of your attention on social media, you can't even pay attention to your divine creation that you brought into this world. Wait a minute. You don't even have to do that. You can just be working all the time and not even have time for your children. What kind of life is that? Just don't have kids. Just don't have kids, right? Because you're not paying attention. You're easily distracted by your job, by your mate, you know what I'm saying? By other things outside of your children. They are your full focus. Y'all, so it's a crisis. I don't know how else to frame this besides it's a crisis. 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 I can't go into the history and say like for how long it has been a crisis. I just know that it has been for too long. And if it wasn't for women speaking up, speaking out, men will never come through. They will never say anything if it wasn't for women speaking out. Now they can demonize the whole Me Too movement, which I'm pretty sure some men, a few little, had the hashtag Me Too, but I know that a lot of women were demonized, right, for using the hashtag Me Too. This is why people don't like to speak out about this crisis, y'all, because they want you to feel less than. They want you to feel little. That's crazy, right? Somebody who was already a victim at one time is being re-victimized, but you have to get in the mindset that you don't give a fuck, right? You are here to continue to grow. You're here to continue to evolve. And the power of your words are in your thoughts, right? Exactly. So you go to your ancestor, you go to your spiritual guides, whatever that looks like to you, at the water, at the gravesite, at the temple at home, at the altar at home, in the bathtub, in the shower. Okay? When you go to bed at night, but probably not when you're about to go to sleep, because when you are fed up, you're kind of at the point where it's like, I can't take this shit no more, man. Type of energy. That's the type of energy. That's the type of energy you bring to your ancestors. That's how they know that you are serious. Yeah. So now I'm done. I can see that there are some comments in here, and just let you know that there's nothing that can be said to me, right, that can lower the essence of myself. When you have been put here in position, just know that the people who were closest to me the most, supposedly, DNA, attempted to lower me at a very early age. Nothing nobody can ever do to lower the senses of I am. Anyway, so let me read your comments anyhow. Let's see what y'all talking about. Oh God, nothing. Hello from Italy. What is the alternative for the government we can expect protection from? What? Are you in the United States? When has the government ever protected anybody? It's a social structure. All of these things out here are social structures, meaning that you have oppression attached to it. So there's no equality in a social structure. If it's education, if it's healthcare, if it's religion, if it's in government, if it's in family, if it's in this, I mean, anything that people are within a structure socially, there's oppression slash structure. So government can't protect nobody. Okay, they're there for your money, honey. Okay, they're there for your attention. Now, there is always a polar opposite of everything, and it is working for some people, and that is great. But ultimately, when you have equality in a social structure, it is not good for anybody. Y'all the one who voted for the government to be in here and to take over and have power. Y'all were in agreement to that. Anyway, so I'm about to go take a walk, y'all, and continue to live my divine free life. And the whole purpose is a reminder, and we're going to continue to talk about this in many different ways, right? Yesterday was a fun day, okay, on our live. You want to go to fun, you want to go happy, he. Look at my live from yesterday, okay? Today we're talking about real serious matters, and there's nothing that you need to take instructions on. There's things that you need to listen to, okay? And to follow through. Because a crisis is a crisis. You're not going to see this as a support on TV. You know how you have like those animals that they want you to donate to, or some children at Dornbeckers that they want you to donate to. Donate to yourself. Okay, and heal and speak to those who are already rallying for you, right? They just need your energy for you to uplift them on the shadow side of this plane, right? They know who you are. All you need to do is speak it into existence. Anyway, y'all. So once again, my Words of Power affirmation books are on Amazon underneath the author name of Shawnee Janelle. And or if you want a digital copy, go ahead and go to realityandbalance.com on the contacts and send me an email, and I'll give you a digital copy of the one of 3 Words of Power affirmations. I recommend that you begin with affirmation 1. This was just a reminder. I was at the park yesterday, and I saw, like, in a broad daylight, deer running through the field. I've been seeing a whole lot of deer lately, just like I've seen 7 of them on the side of the road one morning, and yesterday I saw 2. Anyway, I just got like a thought about just seeing deer broad, like in the middle of the afternoon hanging out. I don't know who that message is for or what's that about, but y'all. All right. Thank y'all for hanging out and chatting. Although, I know people are generally really listening who is about this work, who's about healing, okay? If not today, then tomorrow. There's always going to be somebody out there. There's always going to be a space, right, where people are like, why me? Why this? Why me? That's because you're getting to the information of yourself when you start asking, why me? Why this? Okay, there's a space. Like I was talking about, you're not just, traumatized and then healed right away. There's like this space here. And hopefully you get to a point where it's like, I don't want this shit no more, man. I don't want this no more, man. There are always going to be an avenue and a space for people who are like, why? Okay, because the why is going to end up into you replenishing yourself, replenishing your environment. Talk to y'all soon. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.